York's classic rock, Q1043.
Joining me now, you know her from Girls, Jessa on Girls, Jemima Kirke, who is also the daughter of Simon Kirke of Bad Company, which I didn't even make the connection till I did the research on you.
Yeah, that's my dad, so I'm told.
So Jemima is here to talk about her latest project. It's a movie called Untogether, and it is opening this coming Friday. And what a cast. Jamie Dornan, that's her love interest from 50 Shades of Grey, of course. Billy Crystal, who is by far the only person who should be hosting the Oscars, in my opinion. I mean, that man just... But
yeah,
he needs more time. He needs more time. He needs months in order to do it.
Is that true?
Yeah, and why nobody brought his... Maybe he doesn't want to do it anymore.
As he should have months,
right.
Yeah.
And her sister Lola is also in it. And who else did I leave? Did I leave out?
Ben Mendelsohn.
Okay,
Ben
and
Mendelsohn, who plays Lola's love interest and is, also a friend of mine, yeah.
So according to the writer-director, Emma Forrest, this is a subversive Valentine's Day movie.
Yeah.
So you could take Untogether, the title, two ways. One is Untogether as a couple, which both you and your sister kind of sort of are. You have relationship issues, but it's more Untogether as a person, which we all are.
Yeah, Untogether is a very English expression for... Yeah, actually, when I first read the title, I'm like, does this sort of translate to an American audience? Because when, you read it as an American, you think of it as kind of, uncoupling, like just sort of separating from someone or something. But actually, in England, it means like, you don't have your act together. You're kind of sloppy mess. Like, oh, she's so untogether. Oh, I'm so untogether today. I forgot my keys. I forgot my phone. I'm untogether. So...
All right. Now, you told me something off air, which I found fascinating because Jamie Dornan plays your love interest,
yes.
And you're both writers. But what was interesting is that even though your character on Girls is described sometimes with that dreaded C word, which apparently is the worst thing anyone can ever call anyone on this planet Earth.
Is the see you next Tuesday?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Right.
That you didn't get as much hate on Girls as you're getting with this movie Untogether because people are hating on poor Jemima Kirke because she has dared replace Dakota Johnson as love interest of Jamie Dornan. And hello, it's a movie. And hello, he is not with Dakota Johnson in real life. She's with Chris Martin of Coldplay. I don't understand this.
It is really strange. And first of all, what is strange is that, I almost got no hate on social media for being on Girls. I don't know why, but I kind of was the most likable character at least on social media. I know not really on paper, but maybe that's because I stayed off of talk shows and I didn't do a lot of press, so I didn't say a lot. If they really knew me and heard what I had to say, they'd really hate me. But I think I kept my distance from the publicity. So, and then, those 50 Shades fans.
But they haven't seen the movie yet.
Deluded. It's really.
What are they saying?
Well, just, that I think, that how I can't, she can never take the place of whatever the character's name in 50 Shades is. And, I don't know. What else? Maybe I did say something on Twitter that seemed like I was throwing shade, as they say, at the movie, but I wasn't. I was just sort of trying to point out that Untogether is nothing like 50 Shades, and the 50 Shades fans thought that was rude.
Thank goodness it's nothing like it. You know what? And we're going to move on to your movie in just a minute, I promise. But 50 Shades of Grey, for a movie that's supposed to be sexy, is one of the unsexiest franchises I've ever seen. I know. It's a little bit. It's like softcore porn for like preteens or something.
But corny. boppy, like boppy porn. I don't know how to explain it. There's just something where I'm like, how can you be doing all these really filthy things that were written and make it look like PG? I don't know, but it is.
I guess because they had to sanitize it.
Yeah, but I think they do show, body parts. And
Well, they
stuff,
do, but it's still not sexy.
It's still like, I don't know.
It's glossy. Okay. Untogether opens this coming Friday. And tell me what attracted you to this movie.
Well, first of all, Emma, who wrote the movie and directed it, is a friend of mine. And I do love to work with friends, as we know. And it was her first movie that she'd be directing. And I sort of love first-time projects like that. I love the experimental aspect of it. And the other thing is that Lola would be in it, my sister, which I was like, well, that's going to be fun.
Can I ask why she doesn't have a British accent and you do? How does that work when you're sisters?
I guess different values. I don't know. Well, maybe because
I don't get it, seriously.
Okay, so we came over to America when I was probably 10 or 11, and she was 5 years old. So
that explains it.
The accent stuck. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I forced it a bit. Maybe she forced it American. Who knows? Because I could go back and forth,
So she almost has an affair, not you, your sister almost has an affair with Billy Crystal, who is playing a rabbi in this.
Yes.
And now the whole movie is shot in L.A., and I have to ask you this, which is going to be meaningless to anyone listening who isn't familiar with the synagogue. But I have been to only one synagogue in L.A., and I think it was this synagogue where there is this rehab on the same campus, and their services always incorporate music. Is this the same temple? Do you know?
I don't know, but that sounds very LA.
It's very LA, right? It is very, very LA. And I am almost positive it's the same temple.
I mean, there are a lot of Jews in LA, so there has to be more than one, one temple. There has to be
Oh,
tons.
of course. Oh, my God. Yeah. It's the biggest Jewish population outside of New York City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I thought.
All right. Your mom was brought up Jewish. Were you brought up Jewish?
Yeah, in a sort of like fashionable way. We did sort of lightly skimmed the holidays,
Cultural.
Culturally, yeah. More cultural Jewish, Jewish in our sort of values as well, we kind of, like Jewish men. We like, we understand what makes a Jewish mother. We understand what makes a sort of Jewish comment. We know what it is to be a Jew. Yeah.
And you have kids. Let's see, you have a son who's 7 and a daughter who's 9.
Yes, 8. Actually, no, 6 and 8. Sometimes I say they're 7 and 9 for shock value, just because I look young, and I like to tell people they're older.
Isn't it better when people hear that you're a certain age and they say that you're younger?
I mean,
isn't that the best? Why do people lie about their age?
I hate to contribute to that ideology,
right?
But I do like it. Yeah, I lie about my children's age.
But that's the same sort of thing. It is the same sort of thinking, right?
Yes, because it makes me look younger, yes.
I'm talking to Jemima Kirke, and she is most famous for Girls, playing Jessa. But you go way back with Lena Dunham, because you starred, and I saw that movie, Tiny Furniture, which was her first movie, and that's what broke open her whole career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why do you think Girls, to one generation, was the same sort of meaning as Sex and the City was to another generation? Although they're two totally different entities.
I know.
But it resonated.
It's worth comparing. Yes.
It resonated in the same way with two different generations.
Yes. I think I loved Sex and the City. I mean, I wasn't an avid follower of it, but what I have seen of it was hilarious and insanely entertaining. But I think it was, what's the word, aspirational, and it was glossy to an extent. The way it was sort of dressed up, and sort of the writing of it was just sort of more Hollywood. It wasn't as well. Then Girls comes along, and it's a lot of improv, and the sex scenes are much more, sort of realistic. And I say realistic, not that the situations are more or less realistic, but also it's the way they're shot and the sort of choices we make as actors during the scenes and stuff. And I'm not sure why people were more ready for it. I think maybe because Sex and the City had its time, and it's sort of the younger generation that dictates what's important and noteworthy in media, and for some reason they were ready for this kind of a performance.
Okay, now let me tell you that my youngest daughter, who is now 32, she introduced me to Sex and the City.
Are you lying that she's 32?
No. She's 32.
Oh my God.
See, I'm going to be 65. I don't lie about my age.
Oh my God. I thought you were going to say like 13.
Thank you.
Oh my
this
God.
is why you should never lie about your age. All right, but
Okay.
I'm missing the point here.
Go ahead.
My point is, she was a fan of Sex and the City before I was, and it gave her a sex education, which of course was not always Sex and the City being what it was. This
Yeah.
is not real life. But I thought girls might have done the same thing to another generation in a much more informative and real life sort of way.
Yes. I think the most I like that your daughter got an education from Sex and the City, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because it did normalize sex. The show normalized it and sort of de-shamed it, and took the sort of taboo out of it, maybe by sort of constantly putting it in our faces with every episode. And I think that's a really important lesson for young girls, is that it's not something that's wrong or shameful or even private, because even private can be misconstrued as, now they're saying when in raising kids that we don't call them private parts, we call them middle parts, because private.
Really?
Yeah, because private suggests that there's something that means they shouldn't be shared, or that it's something to hide. And then, then that insinuates later down the line that if you do show off your body, that you're asking for it, kind of thing. That kind of thing.
Huh. Why middle, though?
Well, because they're in the middle, I guess. I don't know.
All
You can call
right.
them whatever you want, but apparently
Okay.
private's,
Interesting.
is problematic. So, even if it was glossy and unrealistic, that I'm happy that Sex and the City did that. And then Girls comes along and does, puts it in your face, maybe more only because we were suggesting that nudity and sex aren't always sexy, and that nudity isn't always sexual. That's the other thing, is that you can be confident in your body and show it off, or be naked and it not be about sex. It's still just part of the story, or it's part of your personal narrative. So yeah, I guess it did.
And you miss Girls.
Yeah, I do. I miss I miss having something to work on. Every day. Just a character to think about, or going to work and seeing my friends and.
And I had a new casting idea for Jemima Kirke, and she didn't even realize this. When she came in, I said, well, watching Untogether, you reminded me of Rachel Brosnahan, who, of course, is winning award after award as the marvelous Mrs. Maisel. There's something in your face. And when you Googled her, you said, yeah, I could see it too. So I think there's a role for you somewhere, maybe as a first cousin. Are you listening, casting agents, for the marvelous Mrs. Maisel? You should hire Jemima Kirke, because she
I'll
looks
take
like
the work.
Rachel.
Yeah.
I mean, she really does.
She does. I mean, I can go. I can go generic, and I can sort of look like a lot of people. I do get that all the time, that I look like someone. So, I mean, I'm flattered because she's beautiful.
But for the time being, you're going to have to satisfy yourself seeing Jemima Kirke in Untogether. It is opening this coming Friday, and it will also be on video on demand as of this coming Friday. And it's in select theaters. Is there anything else you want people to know about Untogether that we haven't told them? We have like another minute. Or about you, or about your dad, or something that we didn't know about girls.
Nothing about me or my dad, but because if you Google either of us, we're not very private people. We talk a lot, but Untogether was a real experiment for me, Lola, Ben, Jamie, all of us, and Emma. And I think one of the things I love about the way Emma works is that she's open, and that she doesn't know exactly what the film is going to be until she sees it, and until it's done. And it was something that we were finding as we went. Although of course we have a blueprint and we have certain goals, but if something's happening in a scene or in the story, and it's something you can't ignore, she would go with it, and
a lot of improv.
Yeah.
And not neatly tied together with a bow in the end, because that's not life.
Well, it's not life, and it's also not how we make things, something doesn't have to be perfectly presented, or not every aspect of it has to be immaculate for it to be a good piece of work. This movie for me is filled with moments, is what I love, and as someone who's even as a painter, you look at something, sometimes not the whole thing works, or the whole thing doesn't become one whole picture, but there are moments in it that you can pull, and this thing is full of those.
Untogether, the Valentine's Day movie. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning on the Jim Kerr Rock and Roll Morning Show, Q104.3.
New York's classic rock, Q104.3.